Good evening. You are listening to the Fumbleroodski podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. I'm your host, Adam Wright, with Justin Tucker and CJ Medeiros. So we have a lot planned for you guys tonight. The Cowboys and Cardinals faced each other. The Bengals beating the Chiefs and crowning a new number one seed in the AFC. But first, let's talk about a Buccaneers wide receiver whose name won't be named, Antonio Brown, who's a little comfortable taking his clothes off in front of 50,000 people in the Big Apple. But so the Buccaneers wide receiver, Antonio Brown, left his game against the Jets, stripping his gear and undershirt while his team was down 24-10, ran across the field while the players were all on the field, and he was out of the game. Buccaneers later came back to win that game, led by Tom Brady's 410 yards and 3 touchdown passes. He did throw a pick, but great comeback nonetheless. But Antonio Brown, in the post game, it was announced by Bruce Arians that he will no longer be on the team, so he is released. So guys, thoughts on this bizarre situation?
Well, when I first heard about the situation, I thought, what the hell is going on? Why is AB doing this? How did this happen? He just got his his fourth chance with the Buccaneers. He won a Super Bowl with them. He's playing with the greatest quarterback of all time. Why is he melting down like this? And then it comes out with reports that he was not feeling 100%. And AB has been consistent with the fact that if he doesn't feel a certain type of way as far as his health, he doesn't want to play. And he came out with reports that Thursday and Friday he was feeling iffy about his ankles, and that's why he didn't practice Thursday and Friday. And then when the game came around, he was still having these issues, and he wasn't feeling confident on his ankle, and he refused to go back in the game. And so when that happened, Bruce Arians came back to him again and said, "Are you going to go back into the game?" He said no, and effectively, Bruce Arians and the rest of the coaching staff said, "If you're not going to go back in the game when we ask you to, then there's no reason for you to be here, and you're gone." And that's when Antonio Brown said, "Forget this," and threw off all this stuff and went away. Now that's been reported. As far after hearing all that, uh, I'm I understand why he did that more now. I'm still bewildered by how it happened and how how despite all that they still won the game. But it's kind of a hard situation to talk about, especially we don't know how AB was feeling. I mean, he was still, I guess he was fine, but I guess his ankle was really bothering him during the game. That's why he didn't want to go back in. So I don't want to question a player's health, but if it's just a tough situation all around.
Yeah, I guess I'll go now. When I first saw the report, I was watching the Pats-Jags game with my dad, and I just said, that's funny. I read the report aloud, and I didn't know what to make of it. Then I saw the clips of Antonio Brown acting like a complete and utter buffoon on the sidelines, and I said, oh dear, it's real. And it's sad, all right? This whole situation is extremely sad. He is a guy with the pedigree and the talent to be a Hall of Fame caliber receiver. Some would argue he already is. Mm-hmm. And he's just keeps having these huge lapses in his behavior and judgment where he views things like this as okay. And he's gotten chance after chance after chance after chance. And also, just a quick tidbit, I feel like you might know this already, but a report from Bleacher Report came out a few hours ago saying that the Bucs actually haven't cut him yet. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're working on it, but just something maybe. Maybe it's Brady still trying to win over Arians or something to keep him on the team. I don't know. But
I think he passed through waivers, and technically because he went through waivers twice, that means that the Buccaneers still own his rights. I think that's.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what you're thinking about.
Oh yeah. Well then. Well, either way, it doesn't change the fact this situation is incredibly sad. I mean, you look at his athleticism, you look at his numbers, you look at what he could do, his ability. It just, and to see him quite literally throw it all away is just, it's sad. And this is going to sound harsh because I have huge respect for his game, but I hope he doesn't get another chance. I really hope he does not get another chance, because the more chances he gets, it's just going to keep enabling his behavior. And when teams in the league say, no, we're not going to sign you, maybe, just maybe, it'll force some introspection. Maybe it'll force some self-reflection. Just maybe it will. But he has to stop getting chances. He really does, because it basically just enables him to just act a fool, just enables him to act however he wants. And honestly, why does he act like this? Your guess is as good as mine. Now, he was always flamboyant. My personal theory is that in 2015, Vontaze Burfict pretty much tried to take his head off, and that might have jostled his brain around a bit too much. And while I do say this partially in jest, I do think Antonio Brown might need some form of a CAT scan, because I genuinely believe something is not right with him. He doesn't process normal, his just brain doesn't process information like a normal person would. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Just, what do you guys think?
So, both of you guys are right on this. I think you guys make very fair points. I just look at it this one way, which is that there's something seriously wrong with this guy. That's in not in a mean way, sort of just saying like this guy's terrible, there's something wrong with him. More like there's actually quite literally something wrong with his head, and he needs serious help. Because I think Tom Brady hinted at this during his post-game press conference, saying, look, I get what you guys are saying, but he's going through it right now and trying to feel some empathy towards him. It's basically saying that there's something up with him, and I think he hasn't been the same since he took that one hit by Vontaze Burfict, and he's gone quite literally insane ever since then. And I honestly think that's the issue. I mean, no matter what, you can't be acting like that after an altercation with your coaching staff like that. I don't care if it's like, oh, my ankle was injured and I refused to play. That doesn't excuse behavior like that. Running around, streaking on the field. The security apparently thought he was some crazy fan, and the security had to be told, no, that's not some crazy fan. That's Antonio Brown. It's just ridiculous. And another thing to add on is his first social media post that he put out immediately following him leaving the game was just something that was completely unrelated. He was just a picture of himself on Twitter, and he was saying he's a super gremlin. What the hell does that mean? This guy's clinically insane. And I agree, he should not get another chance, and he needs some serious help.
Unfortunately, I think that's tough to say, because we don't know what's up with him, or what's wrong with him. I think he might be going through stuff personally, or might be feeling something, which is why he got maybe upset about going back into the game. I think he really felt like he needed to be out of the game. And when the coaches told him, get out of here, he just lost it. So I'm like, maybe not so much sympathy, but more so be like, all right, let's be cautious and let's hear more details as it comes about. We can't say something's wrong with him until postmortem, because if people believe it's CTE, we can't really diagnose it until he's dead. So if it's something like that, you're going to have to wait and see. That hit, I don't blame it on the hit itself. I think it's a combination of hits leading up to it, if it is CTE. But I still respect AB as a talent. I still respect Antonio Brown as the talent he is, and I rightfully so a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hopefully, he may not get in because of his antics the first time, but I think he'll ultimately get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so you're right. We may never know what actually, and we might never know what actually happened on that sideline and what's going on. However, I'm going to flip the narrative real quick before we move on to our next topic. Regarding Tom Brady, how he was able to, his best receiver quit, literally just straight up quit. His previous best receiver a couple of weeks ago tore his ACL. Mike Evans was hobbled by a hamstring injury and was limited in the game. And he still, I get it's the Jets, but he still managed to lead them to a victory in the final seconds. That honestly, I don't see any other quarterback doing that. And that was an MVP level performance. And I believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to win the MVP. But I mean, if there's anything that gets Tom Brady back into the conversation, that was going to be it. I mean, damn.
I'm sorry. What? I respect that he did make a comeback. I respect that, but it's the Jets. It's not like it's a playoff team. Let's move this along.
But look at the way that that team this team is just melting down. He doesn't have his lead rusher until the playoffs now. And his best receiver right now is Mike Evans, who he hasn't had a very good rapport with. He has 700 yards, which is by Mike Evans standards, not that good. Just saying.
No, I think he has over 900, and he's close to being the the first receiver to have 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
I'm pretty sure he only has it's by Mike Evans standards, it's not that good. Let me check real quick. By Mike Evans, I'm not sure how.
Mike Evans has 946 yards, by the way, Adam. Just check.
Okay, so 946. So it has gone up. It has gone up since then.
So he needs 54 more yards to be a 1,000-yard receiver, which is what he's asked for.
Okay, he
probably will get against the Panthers.
He still probably favors. Chris Godwin. Oh, well, he does.
Yeah, but Godwin's hurt.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll guess.
He's without his best receivers, and he's still pulling out victories. I thought that was good, and it showed me something about Tom Brady. All right, so we're gonna move on because we are out of time. But coming up next was a game between two sort of fringe contending teams, if you will, in the NFC, between the Cowboys and Cardinals. Those two teams played each other. We'll tell you how that game went next. This is the Fumbleroodski podcast. Welcome back to the Fumbleroodski podcast. I'm Adam Wright with Justin Tucker, CJ Medeiros. We are talking the NFL, and we are in week 17, going on to week 18. And this past Sunday afternoon, the Cowboys faced the Cardinals in Arizona, and the Cowboys did lose to the Cardinals 25-22. And they are the 4 and 5 seeds, which means they would face each other in the playoffs if they started today. But I mean, these are two teams that we really aren't sure all season. A lot, like all of us, our whole Fumbleroodski crew, we haven't really been sure about what these teams are. Whether or not the Cowboys are contenders, whether or not the Cardinals are contenders, and they played each other, and it was an interesting result. Very close game. Could have gone either way. The Cardinals did have control for most of the game. And there was a controversial play where the Cowboys believed they recovered a fumble by Chase Edmonds. And it turns out that the refs ruled them down by contact. It was a very close play, and it could have decided the game, but we'll never know. But it was that close that a play like that decided the game. So, guys, what are your thoughts on these two teams going forward and in the playoffs?
Well, they're both going to be tough outs in the playoffs. The Cowboys have a good offense and a solid defense with Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, even though Trayvon Diggs may be a slightly bit overrated than what people would tell you. I think that offense is very explosive and that defense is very solid. The Cardinals, they can be either hit or miss, and they showed you these last 2 weeks. They showed you they can beat playoff caliber teams, but I still need to see them up against higher caliber teams because despite how good Dallas is, come on, it's the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? They always fail when you need them to succeed. They usually do that. And the Cardinals, I need to see them face off against like the Bucs or or the Packers before I feel like they're actually legitimate playoff contending, Super Bowl contending team.
Yeah, my thoughts are the same. I'm not overly optimistic about the Cowboys. And before all the Cowboys fans jump down my throat for this, I will grant you this. You have a high-powered offense. I will grant you have some stars on defense. However, Mike McCarthy is not a good coach. I have harped on this before. They will not contend for the Super Bowl. They will not make it to the Super Bowl because Mike McCarthy's a head coach. I know what you're thinking. Oh, yeah, but Mike McCarthy has a Super Bowl under his belt. Yeah, the one Aaron Rodgers carried him to. Big whoop. So I'm not sold on the Cowboys, but strictly because of coaching. They get a good coach. They could go places, but no, just no. Mike McCarthy will not get it done. And then there's the Cardinals, who I just can't draw a beat on. I mean, a lot of people call them frauds. I mean, which I understand.
Didn't you call them
And
frauds a couple weeks ago? I was editing
I
one of the
did,
episodes I
yes.
wasn't in, and you were going on about them, saying, "Can you spell frauds?" This Arizona
Yeah,
Cardinals
can
seems.
you? Yeah, it's just I mean, let's not get it twisted. They were numero uno, and now what are they? Number 4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fallen from grace, and the Rams are right on their tail.
Basically.
And it's just I'm not sold on the Cardinals. I'm just not. I don't see them beating Green Bay. I don't see them beating Tampa. I don't see them beating LA. And even that Dallas game was close and decided by a maybe not fumble. It's just I don't know. I really don't. It's just the Cardinals. They've lost against some really good teams and they lost against the Lions. They've beaten their fair share of good teams. It's just I mean, you can make a case that they're frauds. I've kind of eased up on that since, but I definitely still kind of believe they are. I don't know. I'm not sold on them beating the Cowboys again. I'm just not. And just long story short, no, I don't think either of these teams are Super Bowl contenders. Just long story short, they're just not.
So just a small thing, CJ. The Rams are not hot on their heels. They're actually past them. The Rams have the number 2 seed right now, and the Cardinals are the team.
So the Rams got the 2 seed, did they?
Rams have the 2 seed so far.
Wait, I thought you said the Cardinals were 4.
No, they are the Dallas is 4. Cardinals are 5. But,
I thought you meant the Cards were 4. Okay. But still, I'm sorry, I really thought you meant the Cardinals were 4. It's my fault. But look. Long story short, neither of these teams are Super Bowl contenders. I fully expect Arizona to possibly get bounced out in the first round. And then if they play the Cowboys, obviously one of them is going to go. But I'm not sold because they almost gave up that game. They were this close to choking. And the playoffs are a completely different beast.
All right. So I'll get to my point quickly because CJ took off about 4 minutes of our 5-minute limit to this segment. But
Ow.
You're good. So it's pretty simple. Um, regarding the Cowboys, this is a team that has all of the talent they need to win a Super Bowl. Everywhere you look, they have talent. Quarterback, wide receiver, even tight end, where we didn't see coming. Running back, offensive line, defensive line, secondary. They have it everywhere. The only place where they could screw it up is in their decision making with the coaching. And if they can win in spite of him, that of Mike McCarthy, then they will make a deep playoff run. If they let it get to them and it starts to affect them, they're not going to go far because coaching is so big in the NFL, and that's going to be what kills them. Regarding the Cardinals, I don't believe in that team at all. I'm sorry. I didn't believe at them going into the season. I thought they have a lot of talent, and they're a playoff team. I think they're the definition of a best of the rest type of team. They have a good quarterback. They have a good wide receiver who has been hurt, but not sold on that team. But anyways, we do have to move on to our next part of the show, which is this week's Sunday's Best, which was the Chiefs and the Bengals. This was a big game, and it changed a lot. It changed the entire landscape of the AFC. We'll get to that next. You're listening to the Fumbleroodski podcast. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Fumbleroodski podcast by Power 88. I'm Adam Wright, Justin Tucker, CJ Medeiros here with you tonight. And so our Sunday's Best for Week 17 was the Chiefs and the Bengals. So this was a game between two teams. The Chiefs have been the number one seed for a couple of weeks now. And the Bengals have been up there around playoff contention. And so in this game, the Bengals were down by double digits several times. But Cincy managed to keep pace, and finally took the lead 28-24. It was early in the fourth quarter, or mid-fourth quarter. And then with about 3 minutes left, the Chiefs tied it with a field goal. I think I'm getting it mixed up. But the game was tied at the end of the game, and Cincy drove down the field to the 1 yard line, and at the end of regulation, kicked the field goal to win the game. Burrow threw for 466 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jamar Chase himself had 266 yards and 3 touchdown catches. So KC is knocked off from the 1 seed. And Cincy has clinched their division. So, guys, thoughts on this game?
Do I have to speak about this game? Like, do I have to?
It's a pretty big game.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. Solid game, classic game. Tre'Davious Ward of the Kansas City Chiefs. You got burnt like toast. Should have had you for breakfast. The way you got eaten up by Jamar Chase, you were completely burnt. Did the little gritty, and then like 2 plays later, he did the gritty on you. Y'all could not stop this man. I don't understand why he was just giving y'all the business like that. He had 1 catch and then took it. Like, he had a catch where there was like 5 Chiefs around him, and he still took it for a touchdown. I don't know how you guys let that happen. You guys had double-digit leads throughout the whole game. Unacceptable that you guys were not able to close the deal, and now that you guys are the 2 seed, it's very unfortunate. And the Titans might just come away with the 1 seed, despite all the injuries they've had. So my hats off to them. It was a classic game. Joey franchise, I like to call him now, not Joe Burrow. Joey franchise. I think he's earned it this year. Had a very good game. And won them the AFC North. So congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals. F them, but congratulations.
Yeah, spoken like a true Ravens fan. As for me, I no longer want to hear any Chiefs fans say, well, actually, our defense is really underrated. No, no, it's not. Jamar Chase took a blowtorch to your defense. Joe Burrow aired it out all over you. And your offense, yeah, that's great. Your offense is able to keep pace. That's swell. But your defense can't stop a nosebleed. I don't care about that win streak you were on. But no, you got outclassed by a team with an equal offense. And the Bengals D is just slightly better than yours, and that's what the difference was. Well, that and Jamar Chase, guy's an absolute stud. But this now, as they beat the Chiefs, who, by the way, fourth quarter on the goal, and that was just a bunch of self-inflicted wounds. This defense is way too undisciplined. An actual, honestly good, disciplined defense would not have done that. But Chiefs, you got to get your defense right, and you need to do it fast because the playoffs are coming, and it looks like the road might not go through Arrowhead anymore. So now that you're showing that you lost to the Bengals, I don't even look at them the same. I really don't. And everyone's like, oh, they're definitely going to take the AFC this year for sure. They're head and shoulders above everyone else. Not anymore. I'm interested to see how they're going to fare, but the race isn't as clear cut as I would have liked to believe.
All right. So looking at this game, going into it, we were talking about this before it started during last episode that this would show you exactly where Cincinnati is at, where they're a team that can keep up with Kansas City offensively. They have all of the pieces they need in the passing game, and they would fall short because they wouldn't be able to protect Joe Burrow enough, and Frank Clark and Chris Jones would get to him. But from what I saw this Sunday, not only did Joe Burrow actually win the game, he did it while still being sacked 4 times and being pressured 31 times. He put up 446 yards and 4 touchdown passes, and 3 of them were to his top receiver in Jamar Chase. 266 of his 446 yards were on the account of Jamar Chase, and this guy was able to win while he was on his ass half the time. Actually, more than half of the time. 31 times he was pressured. This is unbelievable. Imagine if they get an offensive line. Regarding the Chiefs, it just shows you how vulnerable the entire AFC is. If this is their best, I mean, anybody can beat anybody during the playoffs, and I am really excited to see this happen. And we haven't even addressed that play call, those questionable play calls at the end of the game, where Zach Taylor on the 1-yard line decided to go for it twice, missed on both tries, and got lucky because Kansas City got penalized. That was just they very nearly coughed up that game to Kansas City. But anyways, we are out of time, so we have to move on from that. And so coming up, we're going to talk about the benefactor of the Chiefs falling off from the 1 seed, and that 1 seed is going back to another team who has had it before in the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk about them next. This is the Fumbleroodski podcast. This is the Fumbleroodski podcast by Power 88. I'm Adam Wright with Justin Tucker and CJ Medeiros on this fine January night. It is the 4th, and you guys are going to be getting this episode on the 5th of January. And so here, as a result of the Bengals upsetting the Chiefs, the Titans has finally gained back that number 1 seed after being knocked off by the Patriots in Week 13. So a couple of we can all three of us have agreed for most of the season that the Titans haven't been really a team that we thought of as a Super Bowl team.
Mm-mm.
You didn't think so either?
Not in the beginning, yes, but once they got hit with injuries, no.
Yeah. But don't look now. But so they've won 3 of their last 4 games. They've not only clinched their division, but are in the driver's seat to maintain the 1 seed with only the 4-12 Texans remaining on their schedule. They're starting to get healthy with A.J. Brown already back and producing for them. Julio is expected to come back. And Derrick Henry is already expected to come back for the playoffs, which would have been wild card weekend, where he was expected to be back. And so with the 1 seed, if they got it, they would get an extra week of rest for Derrick Henry, and they will also host whoever they get in the divisional round. So, I mean, we haven't felt great about the Titans most of the season, even when they were playing well. But I've got to say, as far as underdogs go, or teams that we really saw as kind of a best of the rest type of team, I mean, they're about as well set up as it gets, even better set up than the Chiefs. But how do you guys feel about the Titans team going into this postseason?
I feel like they're all right, but they still have a few injuries to handle. I think Derrick Henry coming back is a plus for them, even though I'm not sure he'll be at 100%. I don't think Julio Jones will be at 100%, but having him over what they have now is still going to be a positive. And I think they have the potential to make it to the AFC Championship game if they do have the number 1 seed, because that gives their guys extra time to rest. But at the same time, I don't think they'll beat Kansas City. I just don't trust them against Kansas City. I think once Kansas City found its group, they're going to be a tough team to beat, regardless of what the Cincinnati game showed us. So I think that their top is the AFC Championship game, and their bottom is going to be the divisional round. Because I think they're going to lock up the 1st seed this week. I think they're going to lock it up and maintain it.
TJ?
Yeah, the Titans certainly are a more balanced team. I mean, they've got some really great pieces on defense, like, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Bayer, Jayon Brown, among others. And their offense, we're getting King Henry back. A.J. Brown is eating like there's no tomorrow. Julio will be back, who hasn't the best season, but he's better than nothing. And, O-line's been getting a little better. So, yeah, I do think the Titans are one of the more balanced, more whole teams in the playoffs, regardless of injury. But Derrick Henry is a beast in any format. And if he can be even half of what he was during the season, he's still going to be a handful. And given the nature of the anyone can be anyone in the AFC, I'm actually excited to see what the Titans can do. And I do also believe that they are going to lock up the 1 seed this year. And if the playoffs go through Nashville, that could be very, very interesting. And like I said, given the nature of the AFC, it wouldn't be a stretch to maybe represent the AFC in the Super Bowl if you're the Titans.
Yeah, so this is such a turnaround, because it was just a few weeks ago where we felt like the sky was falling with the Titans. I was preaching the entire time how this team was just going to dip and they would just fall out and perhaps even miss the playoffs. I mean, that would have been a stretch, but it still was not out of the realm of possibility. And they survived it, and they're back in the 1 seed. Right? So, after all of this that just happened, they're back. And they're going to be hosting the divisional round. They're going to be hosting the AFC Championship game if they get there. This is just wow. Now, I still, even at full health, don't believe this Titans team has what it takes. But as far as seeding goes, as far as their health goes, this is about as good as it gets for the Titans team. This is a best case scenario for them, and they should be breathing a sigh of relief. Granted, they win their next game against the Texans, which they should win, but unbelievable how this has just turned around for them, like in just one game, really. I mean, they have won 3 of their last 4, but we really never felt like this was a team that was. It felt like they were kind of just limping. But, anyways, coming up next, we have a bit of a. We're going to talk a little bit about us. I had a bit of a thought right before we got to this episode that I would just like to bounce off you guys about some of the young quarterbacks in this AFC. So we'll talk about that next. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Fumbleroodski podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to the Fumbleroodski podcast. I'm Adam Wright with CJ Medeiros and Justin Tucker. And here we are talking about some Week 17 happenings. And I've had a bit of a thought here. So there is a youth quarterback movement taking place in the AFC right now. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson have all been drafted in recent years, and they're killing it and are only bound to get better. They're on teams with lots of talent and potential. And so say you're a team who is looking to contend in the near future, such as your Patriots and Mac Jones. You know, how confident do you feel about successfully competing to make the Super Bowl in the coming years with all of these roadblocks in the postseason?
Well, first off, I don't understand why you feel confident when, you have such a stud named Lamar Jackson in the conference. So, unfortunately, there's your first problem. Second off, with all the AFC quarterbacks that are in there, and you just named off the problems, and we haven't even gotten to Deshaun Watson, who may or may not still be in the AFC, that's going to be a problem for any team. It doesn't matter if you have the quarterback or not. If you have to go against these franchise caliber quarterbacks, it will be an uphill battle to beat them and overtake hierarchy. So as far as that, I think it will always be a competition in the AFC, not so much in the NFC, based upon the quarterback play in the AFC right now, right as it is right now. So, yeah, it'll be an uphill battle no matter who the team is.
Yeah, if I look at it from New England's perspective, you got a young guy, Mac Jones. People say, can he be the face of the franchise? I have a counter question. Why not? Why can't he be? So when I look at these other quarterbacks, it's daunting. I will grant you, it is daunting. But, hear me out. Stay with me. What has this season taught us? In the AFC, now more than ever, anyone can beat anyone. And at times like this, I feel like when you have all these good stacked teams with great quarterbacks, it's going to come down to 2 things. Defense, because, got a lot of, like we just said, we have a lot of world-beaten quarterbacks, and coaching. It's going to be almost a battle of wits. Let's see if my superstar can beat yours. I'm not saying Max Superstar. I'm just saying, hey, if I have Lamar, let's see if my superstar can be your guy, be it Mahomes or someone else. So that's what I think it's going to come down to. I feel like any team can feel good because anyone can beat anyone, as we've seen this season, but it's definitely going to come down to coaching and defense.
Mhm.
So looking at all of these, looking at this league right now in the AFC, you're right. Anybody can beat anybody at any given week, but that's just this week, or sorry, that's just this year. This is all of these players are they're early on in their careers, in the early stages where they're kind of still going through growing pains. Justin Herbert isn't quite there as a legitimate superstar quarterback. He's putting up the numbers, but he still has room to grow. He has more wins to lead his team to. Josh Allen is already getting there. Patrick Mahomes is there, and Joe Burrow is emerging. All of these teams are going to get better, and we're going to blink, and the AFC is going to be probably as tough as it's ever been in the history of the Super Bowl era. And that's not an exaggeration. And looking at Mac Jones, I really hope he pans out and is able to be mentioned in the same breath as these quarterbacks. Because if he's not, then it's going to be a very, very long time before the Patriots are contending again in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, contention in the AFC is going to be tough no matter what, considering what every team has. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, it's going to be tough. The only say for the Dolphins, they're still trying to figure out what Tua is, and they're probably still trying to trade him, which is unfortunate. I hope they keep him and try to surround him with talent so they can grow him. But if they want to trade him, Deshaun Watson is still out there, so hopefully they can figure out that quarterback situation so they can have an elite talent around their franchise. But as far as the Patriots are concerned, they just need to nurture Mac Jones. He's shown you flashes here or there. You guys have the defense. You have the coaching ability. You just need to figure out what you have at your quarterback. And I think you have a solid quarterback that can win you games, not lose you games. I think he could be at the low end a game manager, at the high end a franchise quarterback.
But can they win? Like, they're winning games now in the vulnerable AFC. But once this AFC, what I'm saying is that once this AFC toughens up, which it's bound to be in the next coming years, once these young quarterbacks all mature, if this guy can't be more than just a game manager, we could be screwed. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, why won't he evolve? Yeah, if the AFC is going to toughen up, there's no reason to believe he won't toughen up right along with them and be forged in the fire.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. What if he can't run with the Bulls? What if he can't? If it turns out that he's not
something I think about,
or if he's not the Justin Herbert or the Joe Burrow or the Josh Allen, he may not have the same play style, but if he can't play on that same level, and Bill Belichick doesn't trust him to throw more than 3 times in a game.
Oh my God, that was one time.
I mean, you rarely
in
see
the extreme elements.
An extreme element, you're terrible.
But
guess what? Buffalo threw more times than they lost.
Even in extreme elements, you don't see quarterbacks do that. You don't see that very often. You see them throwing less, significantly less. I mean, Josh Allen threw less. I mean, throwing less, that is like 10 to 12 times in a game. That's throwing less and having more of a...
Well, I don't get what you're so alarmed about. He's quite literally a rookie. We're not going to hand the rookie the keys to the offense and say, yeah, here you go, sport. Go call some plays. No, you have to bring him along. And especially in a weather game, you don't chuck him to the wolves like that. And look, Buffalo threw more, and look what happened. They didn't win.
Well, that's not on the quarterback. That's more on the lack of a rushing game that the Bills had.
Yeah, I saw that the ball still wasn't getting there though. It was only Allen one good play where he threw a touchdown. Other than that, it wasn't looking that good. Either way, you're overreacting to this. You really are.
He's been like
it was one game. It was one wild, exceptional game. Now, if we do it again in a dome, then yeah, maybe I'd be a little concerned. But no, this is like one freak game.
You know, he threw 2 picks in a dome against the Colts, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
They couldn't win that game.
So are you saying he should have just only thrown it 3 times?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
Also, the Colts actually have like a really good defense, and we were missing Damian Harris and Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, but if you're an elite quarterback, you overcome that.
He's not elite. He's a rookie.
You're putting too much on him as a rookie. You're putting way too much on him as a rookie.
I'm looking at these other quarterbacks who are making an impact early on in their careers, even in their rookie years, and
Did Justin Herbert go to the playoffs in his rookie year
No.
with a better core? Did he do that? No, he did not. Did Joe?
No
He
coaching,
did
no
Anthony
defense.
Lynn. Anthony Lynn wasn't that bad.
Anthony Lynn is pretty bad.
Anthony Lynn went to the playoffs, my guy.
I won't say
Do you
no
know how
defense.
many games that they lost that they should have won? That defense was horrible.
Yeah.
That offensive line was very subpar, and that coaching was
So
terrible.
the personnel is Anthony Lynn's fault. Yeah, that makes sense. Also, Joe Burrow,
I think the play calling's terrible. If you can't close out a game that you should win, that is pretty bad, and that is the coach's fault.
but still, no.
I think you're just being overly
No.
critical of Mac Jones right now.
Yes, I am too. And also, Joe Burrow, you got hurt his rookie year. Mahomes was benched his rookie year. He had to marinate behind Alex Smith. Josh Allen was garbage his rookie year. So, yeah, these rookies didn't just hit the ground running. I mean, you could make an argument that Herbert did, but still, it didn't make a difference because they didn't go to the playoffs.
But these games, they're not even winning because of Mac Jones. When they win games, it's more so just Mac Jones not screwing up. Not
Which is
Mac
why you-
Jones.
So, yeah, because he's a rookie. Because he is a rookie.
Okay, I know.
As long
not
as
That
saying-
is why.
I'm not
That
saying
is why.
I'm not saying he's going to screw up. I'm not saying that I'm worried about Mac Jones. All I'm saying is
you are worried about Mac Jones.
I'm worried because I'm saying he better pan out because the AFC is coming up. The entire AFC
I
is
too
filled
hope
with young
he pans
quarterbacks
out.
who
We are
already
not making new ground.
who have already proven themselves and are ready to take that next step forward towards Super Bowl contention. And we haven't seen that yet with Mac Jones. Not to say that we haven't.
Doesn't he have a 300-yard passing game on his resume?
He has one.
He was like, yeah.
That's all I need to see.
Also,
I
also look at everyone else's weapons and look at what Jones is. Look at what he's throwing to. Look at it. Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry. I will grant you Hunter Henry's pretty darn good, but like Josh Allen is Stephon Diggs, Mahomes is Tyreek Hill. No, everyone's got all these nice fancy receivers. We don't have that. Let's give Jones a wide receiver one to throw to, a real one.
They're going to have to trade for one. They're not going to get it in the draft.
Yeah,
What about free agency?
Bill Belichick can't draft. I want.
Justin, literally Mac
Justin,
Jones.
Could you bring
drafted Mac Jones, Christian Barmore, and Ramondre Stevenson?
CJ, you are very upset about this take.
All right.
No. And now you just said Bill Belichick can't draft. You sound like
he can't draft wide receivers.
Yeah, Adam's been upfront with this. He doesn't think Bill can draft wide receivers.
He can draft in other
By the
positions.
way,
he can't draft wide receivers.
Fair enough. I will. But all I'm going to say on that is Bill wanted AJ Brown. Wait, all I'm going to tell you is this. Bill Belichick wanted to draft A.J. Brown. Tom Brady wanted N'Keal Harry. That's why we got N'Keal Harry.
Wasn't it the other way around? It was ownership that wanted A.J. Brown. And it was ownership that wanted. It was don't interrupt me. It was ownership that wanted A.J. Brown, and Bill Belichick and Deebo Samuel and Bill Belichick stepped in and he said, "I like N'Keal Harry." We had an interview with him when he was very professional. And he's a good soldier.
I don't think
he just
don't
can't play.
realize it. People don't realize it, but Brady wanting N'Keal Harry was like one of the biggest factors because Brady was going to throw a fit if he didn't get N'Keal Harry.
I don't know about that. Because
and then look what he did. He wanted N'Keal Harry, and then he wouldn't throw to him.
So what does that tell you about the credibility of that source? If he wouldn't throw to a player that he wanted, when Tom Brady wants players, he forces the ball to him. How do you think Antonio Brown has put up such big numbers?
He's open.
Yeah, he is.
He throws to him a lot. He's also throwing a lot of picks with him targeting him. Just saying. All right. So coming up next, we have the Fumbleroodski fan box. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Fumbleroodski podcast. This is the Fumbleroodski podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. I'm Adam Wright with Justin Tucker and CJ Medeiros, and we have reached the end of our show, and you know what that means. That means we've reached the Fumbleroodski fan box. So we post a question box every Monday, and you can respond with hot takes, questions, and more, and we will discuss it right here on the podcast and give you a shout out. And so respond to next week's fan box question to be featured on our show. So this week's question of the week for the fan box is, how will the Packers do this postseason? So we got some nice responses, so let's go through them. So the Packers have secured the number one spot. They have the road to the Super Bowl now goes through Lambeau. And so how did he do? How are they going to do? So Big T, Tyson Tate, who is, keep in mind, he's a Minnesota Vikings fan. He said, NFC Championship blown again, hopefully. So this guy is a salty Vikings fan who is upset that Kirk Cousins couldn't play last week, and they got their doors blown off. 37-10, was it? Is that 37-10, I believe?
I want to say 30-10 or somewhere around that score. But
I know they scored 37, but so yeah. And it is a tendency that they lose in the NFC Championship. But Patrick Williver, who is a Cowboys fan, said, big surprise here, lose against the Cowboys. I said earlier on in this show, and I'm standing by this, they have all the talent to do it. They have all the talent to go to the Super Bowl and even win it.
Accident waiting to happen.
It all comes down to the coaching. And if that coaching screws it up, oh man.
Good luck with that.
And to be honest, in defense of the Cowboys, 2 of the games they lost, 2 of their 5 games they've lost, they lost those games without CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. So if they had those 2 players, they could have easily won.
That's tough. That's tough. That is tough, my boy. That's tough.
Injuries happen, like injuries happen. It all depends on how you play through them.
Yeah. And
when you lose them at a time like that, when you're facing 2 playoff teams in Kansas City and a fringe playoff team in the Vegas Raiders, I mean, that's pretty unlucky. And losing your top 2 receivers, that's pretty tough.
He just played bad. Dak Prescott just played bad against those teams. He still had.
He actually really did, yeah.
Well, you're gonna play bad without all of your pass catchers.
No, he was just throwing bad balls.
He actually was.
I'm sure he was, but I'm sure they also probably would have won if they had those 2 players. All right, so CJ said, and CJ, our co-host, actually said, definitely may make it to the Super Bowl, but Rodgers has to stop choking in the playoffs.
Okay.
So
Look, no, I'm sorry. He is a choker in the NFC Championship. And I was like, oh, it's his defense. Yeah. Oh, you know what I hear? I hear excuses. But look, I mean,
I'm not doing this. Especially last year.
Just in the NFC Championship last season, they got three extra.
They almost came back, but almost doesn't mean jack.
They got 3 extra possessions off turnovers, and
they didn't
chances to take the lead, and they could not cash in on any of them. That's
exactly.
Yep, that's not luck. That's the other quarterback.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
your quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, sorry, Adam. I don't want to jump in on you, but I'm just saying I'm tired of everyone saying it's the defense. No. In that last FC Championship game, that defense got him 3 more chances, and he did nothing with them.
He gave up 28 points in the first half. They better give him more chances after that poor performance in the first half. What?
But if Rodgers is everyone's like, oh, he's better than Brady, he's way more clutch, he should have pulled that out.
Oh my God. Next.
If you're an elite quarterback, if you're a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who is supposedly the greatest of all time, and the league MVP, most likely back to back, you should be able to overcome your defense giving up 28 points. You should be. And you know what?
And no one says Rodgers is the GOAT besides those cheeseheads.
Yeah, you don't see it very.
There's nobody outside of. Yeah, there's nobody outside of Green Bay, or no one with a working mind outside of Green Bay that says, yeah, Rodgers is the GOAT. Yeah, I can name 3 quarterbacks better. I can probably name more, but we don't talk about that.
I will say, though, Aaron Rodgers will get to a point where he is all-time great. Like, he will make the top 5, I believe. I don't think he's there yet, but he's getting there. And with the more statistics he puts up and the MVP awards he gets, he's going to get up there.
I still don't put him in the echelon of Montana, Brady, and Manning. I really don't.
Yep. And Reed Sports, in other words, Reed Becker, our classmate at Dean College, said losing the NFC Championship game. So it seems like a lot of people are just saying they're going to lose. And I really actually don't see any. Yeah. I don't see any responses here that are saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Which is ridiculous, but continue.
It's just people are going off history. And you know what? If they actually overcome their demons and make it to the Super Bowl and win, more power to them, you know? Like, I think it would be good for parity if they make it to the Super Bowl, because Rodgers only made it once. And I just think it would be good for narratives, it would be good for parity, but I can only go off what I've seen. And I will be happy for them if they ascend past this. But until such a time, my opinion stands, as I have said.
And I've got to be, and to be honest, to use history as past teams as an excuse to say that this team is going to fail is low-key lazy analysis, because these are completely different teams than past Packers teams. Mm-hmm. They are. This is a different team than the 2019 Packers. They're better. And honestly, I think this team is much better than, especially in the secondary, than last year's Packers team. Especially since they used their number 1 pick on Eric Stokes, a cornerback. He's been a big difference maker for them, and they have Jair Alexander back. So this team does have a good chance to make it and win. All right, Robert Shelley said, "Just can never make the Super Bowl. Cowboys have more of a damn chance to make it than them."
No, they don't. They can't even make it to an NFC Championship game.
I do not believe the Cowboys have a better chance than the Green Bay Packers. This is just, it's not my opinion. This is fact.
This is factually correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. All right. Now, the team that can stay off the COVID list wins. That was Secret Weapon Consulting.
That's fair.
Yeah, and you know what? That's very wise analysis, I would say.
Unless they just don't place their best players on the COVID list.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because can you imagine if it's the Super Bowl and both starting quarterbacks get COVID? The league would not allow that. The league would either reschedule it or put it under the rug. But, it's literally COVID is just luck. And I'm sure some of you have heard out in the news world that the PCR tests aren't being used as much because it can't differentiate between the Omicron variant and the common cold. So yeah, the NFL mostly uses PCR tests. So yeah, it's COVID tests are literally luck. It's like, will you test positive? Will you not? Because remember, you can have it and not even know it. So it quite literally comes down to who can literally stay healthy.
That's right. All right, so that's all our responses. So guys, any other thoughts before we end the show tonight?
Michael Gallup is out for the season for the Cowboys, but they still have Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, so I still trust that they'll be fine. And T Suggs is coming back to watch the Ravens game versus the Steelers at M&T Bank Stadium. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot to mention that Michael Gallup did get hurt, and honestly, I agree with you there. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper are going to be just enough to make a deep run in the postseason if their coaching doesn't screw it up.
Yep,
and
that's quite right.
Terrell Suggs, very classy move showing up for Ben Roethlisberger's final game, possibly his final game. What if they make the postseason?
I hope not.
And we get to see, just like Peyton Manning, watch him ride off into the sunset. Imagine if he wins a Super Bowl.
No, it's not that I can't picture, it's that I refuse to.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Spotify, Spreaker, and Google Podcast. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumbleroodski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.
Take care.
See ya.